It was a cold December morning in a small, quiet town nestled between snow-covered hills. The streets were lined with soft white blankets, and the faint jingling of Christmas decorations swayed gently in the winter breeze. Inside a modest blue house, the Bennett family was preparing for the holidays, or at least trying to. David Bennett sat at the kitchen table, his hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. His once bright eyes now carried the dull weight of worry. Bills lay scattered in front of him like silent reminders of a life that had grown harder with every passing month. Across the room, his 8-year-old daughter, Emily, hummed softly as she colored on a sheet of paper, her golden curls glowing in the morning light. "Daddy, look," she said, holding up her drawing, a stick figure family with a small brown dog beside them. "That's us. And that's my dog, Charlie." David forced a small smile. "Sweetheart, we don't have a dog." "I know," she said, lowering her head. "But maybe Santa will bring me one." He wanted to laugh. Or cry. Maybe both. "We'll see, Pumpkin," he whispered, his voice cracking under the truth he couldn't hide. They couldn't afford a dog. Later that afternoon, David took Emily into town. Snowflakes danced in the air as they walked past the bakery, the bookstore, and finally, the small pet shop near the corner. The smell of hay, fur, and puppy food filled the air. Emily pressed her little hands against the glass. "Daddy, look at him." Inside the display pen was a golden retriever puppy, tiny, trembling, with the biggest brown eyes David had ever seen. The tag above read, "Buddy -$400. The puppy tilted his head, locking eyes with Emily. It was as if something silent passed between them, recognition, maybe fate. "Can I buy that dog, Daddy?" Emily asked softly, her voice trembling with both hope and fear. David froze. The world around him seemed to disappear. The faint hum of Christmas music, the people walking by, even the sound of his own breath. He looked down at his daughter, her eyes glistening, her mittened hands gripping his sleeve. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to give her everything. But all he could whisper was, "Sweetheart, we can't afford him." Emily didn't cry. She just nodded slowly, her small smile fading. "Okay, Daddy," she said, and turned away from the glass. The puppy pressed his paw against the window, whining softly as if he could feel her heart break through the cold pane. That night, David sat alone by the fireplace after Emily had gone to bed. The house was quiet except for the ticking of the clock and the faint sound of wind outside. He stared at the photo on the mantel, Emily's mother, Sarah, smiling, holding baby Emily in her arms. It had been 3 years since the accident. A drunk driver, a rainy night, and a phone call that shattered their world. Since then, Emily had grown quieter. She smiled less, but every night, she still whispered to the stars, "Good night, Mommy." David whispered too, though his words were heavier. "I'm sorry I can't give her more, Sarah." The next day, as he walked Emily to school, they passed the pet shop again. The puppy was still there, curled up in a corner, shivering. Emily didn't say anything. She just looked once, then turned her gaze away. Inside the store, the owner, an elderly man named Mr. Jacobs, noticed David watching from outside. "She loves that pup," the man said, stepping out. "Most kids do, but that one's special. Doesn't take to everyone, but he sure took to her." David sighed. "She deserves him, but life doesn't always care about what we deserve." The old man studied David's face. "Sometimes life gives second chances in small, furry packages," he said with a soft smile. David smiled politely and walked away, but the words followed him all day. That evening, the sky turned a deep shade of purple as a storm rolled in. The wind howled, and snow began to fall harder. David was still at work, trying to finish a late delivery. Emily waited at home with the babysitter, staring out the window. Suddenly, lightning flashed, and then darkness. The power went out. The babysitter panicked and called David, her voice trembling. Mr. Bennett, the power's out and Emily, she's scared. I think something's wrong. She keeps saying she hears something outside. David's heart dropped. I'll be there in 10 minutes. He drove through the storm, tires skidding over ice, heart pounding. When he reached home, the front door was open. Emily, he shouted, rushing inside. Her small voice answered from the porch. Daddy, he was outside. He's cold. David stepped out, and froze. There, lying in the snow, was the same golden retriever puppy. Soaked, trembling, and barely breathing. Emily was kneeling beside him, wrapping him in her blanket. He was all alone, she cried. Please, Daddy, help him. David dropped to his knees, tears blurring his vision. The puppy's small chest heaved weakly, and when he opened his eyes, they found Emily again, the same gaze, fragile but full of trust. David didn't hesitate. He scooped the puppy into his arms, wrapped him in his jacket, and rushed to the small veterinary clinic down the street. The vet worked for nearly an hour. David stood outside the door, holding Emily's hand as tears streamed down her cheeks. Finally, the vet stepped out, removing his gloves. He was half frozen, he said. But you got him here just in time. He's going to make it. Emily's face lit up like dawn breaking through the storm. David exhaled shakily. Thank you so much. They brought the puppy home that night. Emily stayed awake beside him, whispering softly, You're safe now, buddy. I'll never let you be alone again. David watched her, the way she smiled again for the first time in months, the way her eyes sparkled in the flickering candlelight. Something inside him shifted. Weeks passed. The house slowly filled with laughter again. Buddy followed Emily everywhere. To the kitchen, the backyard, even to her room at night. One morning, David woke to the sound of Buddy barking wildly. He ran to Emily's room. She was pale, her breathing shallow. Emily, he cried, grabbing her hand. She had been diagnosed with a rare heart condition months earlier, one they'd been managing carefully. But this time, it was worse. They rushed to the hospital. Machines beeped, doctors moved quickly, and Buddy sat outside the door, whining softly. Hours later, a doctor approached. She's stable for now, but her heart is weak. We'll need to monitor her closely. David sat beside her bed, holding her hand as tears fell silently. Daddy, she whispered, if I go to heaven, will Buddy come too? He choked on his words. You're not going anywhere, baby. Not yet. Buddy jumped onto the bed and rested his head on her chest, listening to her heartbeat as if guarding it with his own. That night, the doctors noticed something remarkable. Emily's heart rate steadied whenever Buddy was near. Her breathing eased. Days turned into weeks, and with Buddy's constant presence, she began to recover faster than anyone expected. The doctors couldn't explain it, but David didn't need science. He saw it in their eyes. The connection, the miracle. Months later, on a bright spring morning, Emily ran through the garden with Buddy chasing butterflies behind her. Her laughter echoed across the yard. David stood on the porch, wiping tears from his eyes. Mr. Jacobs, the pet shop owner, approached quietly. I see they found each other after all. David smiled. I think they were meant to. The old man nodded. Sometimes, God doesn't send angels with wings. Sometimes he sends them with paws. That evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, Emily crawled into her father's lap. Daddy, she said softly, thank you for letting me buy that dog. He kissed her forehead, his eyes wet. Sweetheart, that dog bought us. Buddy barked once, then curled up at their feet, his tail thumping softly against the floor. And for the first time in years, the house felt full again, not just of warmth, but of life, hope, and the miracle of love found in the unlikeliest of places.